is going? How's your Cinco de Mayo? How's your week been going? Can't believe we're already done with the first week of May. We're done with 33% of the year so far. It is like flying by, right? We're gonna be having a fresh CFO here later, and it's gonna be the end of summer. That's gonna happen if summer starts. Like, right when is summer? If you're on the live right now, summer, I'm gonna need for you to like come out and like let's grab some tea, let's catch up, book a free meeting with me. We can talk about some things, but summer, I'm gonna need you in the chat. I'm gonna need you in the building, right? I just got back from Florida last week doing the World Finance Forum conference down in Fort Lauderdale, and that was absolutely amazing. And the day that I came back, right, I remember this. I'm sitting there having lunch. I'm overlooking right there on the beach, having a nice tea, just soaking it all up. I get a text on my phone because I'm coming back from Florida to Indiana, and the text says, freeze warning in Indiana. And instantly I was like, I'm going from this to a freeze warning. So but welcome everybody. This is the Fresh CFO Report. And basically what I want to talk with you about today, I want to do like these fresh CFOs, and it's coming outside of a quarter, and there's a lot of change that is happening. We're going to talk about various topics around economic. We're going to look at some stock market stuff. We're going to talk about how the crypto market is doing. We're going to talk about how things are going for fresh CFOs. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about partnerships. So really, I want to use this time to make sure we just kind of hit on a lot of different topics. So typically before in Fresh CFO Fridays, we usually have like one topic and we kind of go in depth in that topic with use cases and examples. But this one, I just want to kind of give that report and that update. So let's jump right into it. First thing, economics, right? The economy, right? I'm pretty sure everybody's aware of what just happened with First Republic, right? I mean, they just got bought. So if you're not aware, First Republic Bank, which was one of the largest banks here in the U.S., globally as well too, they just got acquired by J.P. Morgan and Chase. I can't. So my thoughts on that, right? I get a lot of people that message me and say, "Chris, what are your thoughts on it?" I'm not gonna fake, not gonna be. I'm gonna be very honest about it. I seen this coming back when they got that bailout I think it was a couple $1 billion that they needed. I was like, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing some shakiness with First Republic Bank. I think JP Morgan scooping them up and not SVB. They kind of looked at that situation and was like, hey, there's a lot of things going on with SVB. And that I mean, honestly, like when you look at the tidal wave that Silicon Valley Bank SVB had in the treasury community, I think a lot of more people were more prepared for what was going on with First Republic. Like I said, there were a lot of leading indicators that was like either this is gonna get taken over or somebody's gonna come scoop them up. So and ideally, when you look at the bigger banks out there, it's not surprising that JP Morgan has scooped them up. Also on the global economic updates, right? You still like I'm not gonna say the R word, right? Because that's a dangerous word right now. But I still think we're still I am not going to say we're venturing into that, but there's a lot of leading indicators, like right when you look at interest rates here in the U.S., when you look at things going on with the foreign currency comparables in Europe, you look at the economic situations in Europe, right? I'm not. We're still teetering on that line. I still think we need about 3 to 5 months to really are we moving towards that R word or are we not moving it across? I think there's just a lot more uncertainty and challenge that are still developing before we can officially say we're moving into that. But I think like for me, that is like really important for CFOs to keep track of. And I had a great friend of mine ask me a question is like, hey, as a CFO, should you be on track of all these like macro and micro economic factors? 100%, right? Like, am I economics? Am I an economist? Am I like an expert at that stuff? No, but I make sure for our team and for our clients when it's relevant to post as much information as possible out to them, post so much out to the community, make sure people are aware and updated on those things. I think that's like super important to do. So that's my quick, you know, deep dive and report on the economic side. Stock market. When I look at the S&P Jones, right? You look at it. May now compared to a year ago. We're pretty much the S&P, the Dow Industrial Average. Like when you look at May now compared to May last year, we're pretty much like back at like a level of those same different things. I think my last report on the Dow Jones is up about 400 points, which is about 1.2, 1.3%. S&P 500 similar 1.5%. I think the biggest driver of that is obviously coming outside the quarter. You got a lot of the big tech companies, you got a lot of the big companies releasing their earnings reports, right? And it's still looking shaky for some businesses out there. I think so. This is my thought. Fresh CFO kind of insight on it, right? I still think we're probably about 2 to 3 quarters, probably 2 quarters, right? See how Q2 goes. If it's still another soft Q2 for a lot of these earning reports, and then we see that softness in Q3, 100%. I think that is like very, very important leading indicator of where we're going to go. But economically, stock market wise, I mean, S&P and Dow Jones is pretty much where it was last year, right? When I look at that, when I look at that information and get that kind of reports on a daily basis sent to my phone, that's the kind of quick insights that we're at around that. The stock market is I mean, it's I've always had like a love-hate relationship with the stock market, right? And everybody here's a common misconception, right? People think just because you're in finance, right? Like I talk to a lot of my friends, talk to a lot of people that I just meet organically, and they ask me what I do, and I'm like, hey, I'm leading a fractional CFO and advisory services business called Fresh FP&A. We have a team globally, and basically what we do is we provide strategic finance leadership and advisory services to high growth businesses, right? I tell them that some people get it, and then some people come to me and is like, oh, so like you help businesses with like the stock market and stuff. I'm like, nah, that's not what we do. And then a lot of people think just because you're in finance that you just have this subject matter expertise when it comes to just everything finance related, right? Like I know the stock. Here's always what I tell people, right? Like I know the math behind every element of finance. Like I know the math behind when you're gonna go get a car, right? Like, and you're looking at financing your lease, right? I know the math behind it, but like all the strategies and rules and like all that piece of it, like I got to educate myself on it, right? Like, of course, I know time value of money. Of course, I know leasing factors, residual rates, and I can automatically go in that side with that. Same thing with the stock market, man. I think a lot of people like I know the numbers behind it. I can see it, but in terms of like that strategy and that leadership, that's a whole nother element of finance that I leverage great partners to kind of help me with. And it's good because we talk less about the numbers and the impact because that's probably the common ground that we share, but we talk more about the strategies, and that's where I'm looking for the expertise. So that's my quick rundown, quick update on the stock market. The latest on the cryptocurrency side. So Bitcoin, similar to the stock market, Bitcoin was all over the place, right? And it's funny because cryptocurrencies as a whole, right? Like in totality, not a lot of people are talking about cryptocurrencies right now, right? Like I think the last time I heard about Bitcoin or all those other things is it's pretty much like it's kind of went to the wayside, right? Obviously, there's a lot of risk in that. But when I looked at the trading price of Bitcoin today, similar to what the S&P, similar to what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is at, comparable year over year, it's pretty much back to where it was in May of 2022. I think for all the Bitcoin owners, that's a good thing, right? I don't really dabble a lot with cryptocurrencies. I think the stock markets, I think it has more quantifiable metrics that you can look at and tie decisions. It's still a lot of emotion tied in the stock market, so I'm not discounting that. But cryptocurrency, right, and the crypto markets, I say like there's so much like volatility in that, and it's volatility tied to not financial or you measurable economical things, right? Like you can't tie why certain cryptocurrencies are moving to really fundamentals, right? Which has always been my thing around that. I have some friends, they're like, Chris, you're missing out on an opportunity. Like you should really, you should look into Bitcoin, you should look at these sorts of things. And like, I'm like, hey man, like it's like the Bitcoin market and cryptocurrency market to me is just same thing if I was to go to Vegas and go to the RE hotel and I want to lose $500 on the craps table. I'm like, same thing, same like thought process when I think about cryptocurrency, right? Like it just that is how I think about that market. Um, Drop a comment if you have any insights around that piece of it. But yeah, for me, that is kind of the update on the crypto side, right? It's Bitcoin is trading where it was. I think obviously that's the most leading indicator of the health of the cryptocurrency market. You still had a lot of I think I was reading in the news yeah, you still have the like the FTX thing and like obviously the situation that's going on with that. Which gets to like my financial regulations news, right? Like another update that I kind of seen across the news is like you're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of these high growth businesses. I think I just read somebody in New York that it was a young lady and she was a CEO and she was like defrauding their investors to increase their evaluation during a fundraising round and she got caught and she's about to get 20, 30 years for what she's done. I read another article about another CEO at a high growth business that overinflated like user numbers to make the business look more stable and scalable than what it was, right? Man, there's a lot of that going on, right? I mean, you could go back through and you look, and it's starting to become like a pattern, right? Like I feel like every week or every 2 weeks, I'm reading about somebody that did some finagling, right? They're over there doing some Enron stuff, right? And I my thing is like getting like the driver around that, right? I think a lot of it is people are seeing these opportunities to, have higher valuations in a market that's typically down, right? Like the VC private equity companies going public, like we are officially in a down market when it comes to that, right? The numbers show. You look at the number of IPO companies, you look at the level of investment, you look at the level of dry powder that's sitting out there for private equity and VC companies. There's a lot of hesitation to go into it. So I get into the mindset, right? And I think a lot of the behavior that is driving that is I think a lot of these leaders, a lot of these CEOs are like, man, this may be like our one-time shot. Like we got a shot right now. We don't know the next time that this is going to come across. Like, what can we do to make sure we're painting the best picture as possible? And I'm not saying that that hasn't happened in other periods of time, but when I read a little bit more about and dive deep into these situations, you can kind of see like there was that urgency factor into it, right? Like it was like, I don't know the next time we're going to be able to get this. So, and you're starting to see some more financial regulations, right? I think one of the biggest news that I've seen is Facebook with that class action lawsuit. I think it was like 725 million or something. It was close to a billy, right? And I got it on Facebook. It was like, hey, you could participate, and it was like the average like payout was like $8 a person. I'm like, $8 a person. I could probably get a Starbucks, maybe not a Starbucks, but I could probably get like a sushi roll with that. Given where we're at with the inflation place that we're at globally, right? But yeah, I think on the financial regulation side, right, you're starting to see a lot more of that. You're starting to see a lot more crackdown on banking specifically, right? Like you've seen Silicon Valley Bank, you've seen Signature Bank, you see now First Republic Bank. Like I that point around the treasury side when it comes to financial regulations, somebody at the desk, and I'm not placing blame on people, but I think it goes both ways. Somebody's dropping the ball somewhere, right? Like somebody's dropping it, right? And I talked to some of my good CFO friends and good colleagues and other people that are deep in finance and financial services, and it's like a mixed bag. Some of them are saying, Chris, like we haven't even seen the pinnacle of this yet. Some of them are like, yeah, with Silicon Valley, it's raised awareness for people. So a lot of organizations, a lot more people are being more proactive about addressing these concerns. That way, in a span of 3 days, you don't have one bank that's there and they're gone in 2 days, right? I think nobody wants to have that happen. But yeah, it is I think the post-mortem, whenever that happens, there needs to be more due diligence, more insights around it. There needs to be a lot more due diligence around that because like these things, like I mentioned before in the first conversation with First Republic, I wasn't surprised that that was going to eventuality, right? You just seen the leading indicators on that one, right? But some of these other things that are still yet to be determined, right? Like, where are all those landmines at, right? And how we're going to make sure we, as a business, as a team, right? And I highlight that piece of it because I think that's such an important part for business owners, founders, and CEOs to know is like, hey, man, right now, take this piece of advice, take one highlight from this. If you're a CEO, business owner, founder, go get that strategic level finance person that is able to help you navigate this uncertainty and challenge. And they can have the vision, the strategy, the tactics, the metric, and the milestone that you need. That if any treasury operation disruption happens, like, you got a plan in place, you got a team that supports you, you've got experts that have been there, done that to help you navigate this. Highly recommend that, right? That's super important, not just in treasury operations, right? But as we continue, as I mentioned before, the next 3, 6 months navigating this continued uncertainty, this kind of rocky ground that a lot of businesses, a lot of leaders, a lot of finance people are navigating. Highly recommend getting that insight right now. And one of the best ways to do that is, getting a fractional CFO, right? And this isn't a plug for Fresh FP&A. Of course, that's what we do. And we're happy to support you, happy to serve you. But definitely find that strategic finance leader that is going to be able to help navigate and continue to drive uncertainty and challenge. And you feel proactive, like you're like, hey, we're going through this water together, and less reactive. Technology news. How could we not talk about ChatGPT, GPT-4, Bart, all the different Chrome extensions, AI? I on my YouTube, I get the algorithm in YouTube has figured out that it's like I'm trying to figure out how to automate so much stuff, right? Like, it'll send me, hey, the top 10 AI sites you need to be leveraging, right? And I get all of these great information. And a lot of it is like putting on my CEO hat, right? A lot of it is business owner stuff, right? Like being able to automate when you send in prospecting emails, or being able to automate, the contract process, right? Like, a lot of the tactical things that I do at Fresh FP&A to help support the team to get, contracts done or calls scheduled or things around that. There's a lot more automation around that too, but like, it is huge right now. My two predictions, right? I just got an email yesterday that Google and Microsoft, right? I think they're both battling to say, how do they sprinkle their, whether it's ChatGPT or whether it's Bart, inside of their business applications, right? That is really going to be the holy grail. And like, I feel as though the first company that is able to like definitely get those AI machine learning tools inside of like Google Meets or Microsoft Teams, or here's the big one, right? The moment ChatGPT is like native in Excel, all of those Excel warriors and subject matter experts, like, yikes, right? And I think Bart's doing that, right? Yesterday, I got an email that I was on the one of the first list of getting like Bart incorporated in the Google Workspace. Our business, Fresh FP&A, we're a Microsoft Teams shop, so like everything with us is like integrated in Microsoft Teams. I just always loved it. Shout out to, I'm not just throwing shade at the Google Workspace, but we just always been a Microsoft shop. But I start to see, and obviously Microsoft has their thing with Copilot, right? I have a really great Microsoft colleague of mine that's been in Microsoft for like 30 years. We work out at F45 together, and she's like, Chris, the moment that launches and that's all out there, like, that's going to be a game changer. And I think like it's going to be pretty powerful because you got Power BI inside of the Microsoft portfolio, you got Power Automate inside of there, you got ChatGPT in it, you got Teams a part of it, you got this whole ecosystem where you can start leveraging that across a lot of business applications. I think, to me, like, when that domino falls, that's where you'll start seeing broader adoption across the organization, right? Right now, it's like AI, machine learning I feel like it's siloed in different areas, right? Like, it's siloed here, like marketing, sales are really first mover, like adopters, early adopters of it. Finance, obviously, we're always typically laggers of it. We're still trying to find the application and use case. But once it's across business applications, I think you're going to have a lot more momentum and a lot more impact and like comfort and confidence in using the tools, right? So, technology, as I've always said, is going to be a catalyst to scale for fresh CFOs. It's how we scale. It's one of the pillars we talk about at Fresh FP&A, right? It's a scaling pillar. It is the first scaling pillar that we are able to have. And I think it's a huge opportunity for finance and CFO professionals. So, and it's exciting too. Like I love like every day I find a way to like play around with an AI. Maybe it's ChatGPT, maybe it's Bar, but every day I'm finding a way to play around with it where it has an application, right? I mean, I was using it today where I was sitting there thinking about, I was going through our glass door and I was working with the team to get all that set up. And they were like, hey, Chris, like we need to write something about, this particular topic and have it to our business. And this is funny, as my teammate is talking to me about doing this, I'm already thinking about the prompt that I need to type in. And again, not to get the 100% of it, but get the starting ground of what I need. And I'm like, as she's communicating to me, I'm like, all right, here's the prompt. Here's what I need to ask. Here's what I need to do. And literally, typing that prompt in, I typed it in ChatGPT, right? It didn't give me 100% of the answer of what I needed, but it gave me that starting point that now we can customize it and to fit our business, right? So, huge application around that. That'd be my number one advice to everybody that is a little like, I don't know, and I'm inundated. Work with the tool every day. Like find a way to like engage with it. There's so many great resources out there now. I think one of the most important knowledge bases of like not using the AI functions and using it is making sure you're prompting correctly, which that's really big. Like learn how to prompt because I think when you learn that aspect, that foundation language of it, like you learn how to speak the language of it, it makes it a lot more easier and you'll get more impact. Like if you go in there and just don't know how to prompt it and you expect it to give you something and it's like completely off base, you're probably gonna be like, oh man, this stuff is junk, but you didn't prompt it correctly, right? So that's my update around technology. Other topics I want to talk about, more fresh FP&A updates. So we just launched our store. Checking the link of these videos or checking the comments. We're gonna be tagging the store. You can get your fresh CFO merch. You can get the fresh apparel. We got shoes. We got laptop sleeves. We got book bags. We got all the stuff to keep you fresh. So make sure to come check us out. And then also, if you want to use the promo code Fresh10 FRESH 1010, use that promo code. You'll get 10% off of your first order. So you'll save some money and be fresh. Every time I wear this shirt, everybody's like, "Man, dude, like, where'd you do that?" And I was just like, "Yeah, man, we made it up, man. We just." I remember sitting in the conversation with one of my marketing partners as we were thinking about launching the store, and we're going through having the conversation, and I was like, "This design just like resonates with me. Like, it just stands out. It's I love this about it." And they took it, ran with it, and made it. So make sure to check that out. Also, as well, some other updates too. Not next week, but the week after that, I'll be at the SAP Sapphire event. So really excited for that, being out at the Sapphire event in Orlando. And then got some great things coming up in the Accent Conference. That's going to be out in San Francisco. That's one of the largest SaaS conferences with all directors, decision makers in SaaS. I'm going to be doing some things with Maxio and SpinFlow out there. We're going to be hosting a nice finance night where we're going to get a whole bunch of finance professionals together, gonna have some great conversations, get some insights. So really excited to partner with them around that. And that's what I got coming up on travel. So you'll see it all on LinkedIn and everything. So yeah, appreciate everybody being part of the Fresh CFO Report. I'm going to do these every quarter just to give a deep dive into some topics, some pressing things, some hot things that are going on, some fresh stuff that you probably didn't know. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you don't miss any future updates. And we talk about everything from accounting, finance, FP&A, CFO leadership, entrepreneurship. We're going to give you that fresh perspective on finance. So if you haven't already, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, click the notification bell on our YouTube page. That way you don't miss any future episodes, any future information that we're giving. And as I always end, keep pushing, never settle, and the best is yet to come. Let's get it. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Have a safe and productive weekend. Thank you for checking out the Fresh CFO Report.